The crowd around the central plaza of Nexus Station grew thicker as word spread. Princess Zara of the Crystalline Empire stood alone on the raised platform where criminals were usually displayed. Her blue skin had lost its natural glow, and her silver hair hung loose around her shoulders. The golden crown that once sat on her head was gone. In its place, she wore simple gray clothes that marked her as an exile. Captain Jake Morrison pushed through the crowd of aliens, trying to get a better look. He had seen many strange things during his 5 years as a trader, but he had never seen a royal family member stripped of their titles in public. The princess kept her head high even as the crowd whispered and pointed at her. "The Hegemony Council has decided," announced a tall Craxan official, his voice booming across the plaza. "Princess Zara is no longer welcome in the Crystalline Empire. She has been found guilty of treason against her own people." Jake frowned. He knew enough about galactic politics to smell something fishy. Craxan were known for their military strength, not their interest in justice. If they were involved in this, there had to be more to the story. An elderly Valari merchant standing next to Jake shook his head. "Such a shame," he muttered. "She was the only one in that family who cared about the small species like us." "Did she do?" Jake asked. The Valari looked around nervously before answering. "Word is she found out about some dirty deals her brother was making with the big powers. She tried to stop him, so he turned the tables on her, made it look like she was the traitor." Jake watched as various alien species walked past the platform. Then scholars hurried by with their eyes down. Valari traders whispered among themselves, but kept moving. Even the usually proud Saurian diplomats avoided looking at the princess. Everyone was too scared to help her. The princess's eyes met Jake's for a moment. He saw fear there, but also something else. Determination. She was not giving up. Even though her whole world had just collapsed around her. "Move along, human," barked a Craxan guard. "This is not your concern." Jake started to walk away, but something made him stop. 3 figures in dark clothing were moving through the crowd toward the platform. They moved like hunters, their eyes fixed on the princess. Jake had seen enough criminals in the Outer Rim to recognize killers when he saw them. The princess saw them too. Her face went pale and she took a step back. The guards who were supposed to be watching her had mysteriously disappeared. Jake realized this whole public display was just a setup. They were going to kill her right here in front of everyone and make it look like she tried to escape. Jake's mind raced. This was not his fight. It was just a cargo hauler trying to make a living. Getting involved in royal politics could get him killed or worse. His crew was waiting for him back at the ship. They had a delivery to make on Kepler Prime, and they needed the money. But as he watched the 3 assassins get closer to the princess, something in his chest tightened. His father had always told him that a man's character was measured by what he did when no one was watching. Everyone was watching now, and no one was doing anything. Jake pushed back through the crowd toward the platform. "Princess?" he called out loudly. "Princess Zara." She turned toward him, surprised. The assassins paused, not sure what was happening. "I am Captain Jake Morrison of the cargo ship New Horizon," he said, loud enough for everyone to hear. "I formally request permission to offer you passage to neutral space." The crowd went silent. Even the assassins stopped moving. No one had expected this. A human, of all species, was publicly offering help to the exiled princess. "You do not know what you are doing, human," hissed one of the Craxan officials. "This female is a criminal." Jake looked the official in the eye, then let her be tried in a neutral court. "That is her right under galactic law." "Humans," muttered a thin observer. "They always stick their noses where they do not belong." Princess. Zara stared at Jake for a long moment. Then she stepped forward. "I accept your offer, Captain Morrison." The assassins started moving again, but Jake was ready. He grabbed the princess's hand and pulled her into the crowd. "This way," he said. "Stay close." They pushed through the mass of aliens, most of whom stepped aside in confusion. Jake could hear shouting behind them as the assassins tried to follow. He led the princess through the winding corridors of the station toward the docking bays. "Why are you helping me?" she asked as they ran. "Because it is the right thing to do," Jake replied. "And because everyone else is too scared to do it." They reached the docking bay where the New Horizon was waiting. Jake's crew looked up in surprise as he rushed aboard with the princess. "Jake, what the hell are you doing?" asked Lisa Park, his engineer. "That is Princess Zara of the Crystalline Empire." "I know who she is," Jake said, sealing the airlock behind them. "And I know she needs help." Ben Carter, the pilot, shook his head. "This is going to bring us nothing but trouble." "Probably," Jake agreed. "But we are going to help her anyway." As the New Horizon pulled away from Nexus Station, Jake could see ships moving to intercept them. The hunt had begun. The alarm bells rang through the New Horizon as Ben Carter's hands flew over the controls. 3 Kraxan warships were gaining on them, their weapons already charging for attack. Jake strapped himself into the captain's chair while Princess Zara held onto a support beam near the back of the bridge. "They are not playing around," Lisa Park called out from her engineering station. "Those are military-grade pulse cannons. They are aiming at us." "How long until we can jump to hyperspace?" Jake asked. 2 minutes, Ben replied, sweat beading on his forehead. "But I do not think we have 2 minutes." The first blast rocked the ship. Princess Zara stumbled but kept her balance. Amy Stone, the medic, rushed to the bridge with a first aid kit, expecting injuries. "Princess," Jake said, "I need to know what we are really dealing with here. Why do they want you dead so badly?" Zara looked at the pursuing ships through the view screen. "Because I know something that could change everything in the galaxy. My brother thinks if I die, the secret dies with me." Another blast hit them, this one closer. The lights flickered and sparks flew from one of the control panels. "We have got company," Ben announced. "Volari ships coming in from the side. Looks like mercenaries." Jake cursed under his breath. The Volari were traders, but some of them worked as bounty hunters when the price was right. "How much are they paying for you, Princess?" 50 million credits, she said quietly. Lisa whistled low. "That explains why half the galaxy is chasing us." The ship shook again as more weapons fire hit their shields. Jake could see the shield strength dropping on his display. They would not last much longer under this kind of attack. "Princess, what is this secret you mentioned?" Jake asked. "Maybe if we knew what we were protecting, we could do a better job of it." Zara hesitated, then seemed to make up her mind. "There is ancient technology hidden in my empire's territory. Technology from the Forerunners, my brother wants to use it to make deals with the major powers, but I believe it should be shared with all species." "Forerunner tech?" Amy asked, her eyes wide. "That stuff is supposed to be just legends." "It is real," Zara said. "Weapons, shields, communication systems, far beyond anything we have now. If the wrong people get their hands on it, they could control the entire galaxy." Jake understood now why everyone was so eager to either help or kill the princess. Forerunner technology was the holy grail of galactic civilization. Most people believed it was just stories, but if it was real, it would be worth more than money could measure. 30 seconds to hyperspace jump, Ben called out. The Kraxan ships fired again, this time all at once. The New Horizon's shields flashed and failed, as the next hit would punch through their hull. "Jake," Lisa said, "if we jump now, they might be able to track us. Hyperspace trail will lead them right to wherever we go." Jake looked at the tactical display. More ships were appearing at the edge of sensor range. Word was spreading fast about the bounty on Princess Zara. Soon, every pirate and mercenary in the sector would be hunting them. "Do we have any other options?" he asked. Ben pointed to the asteroid field on the right side of their path. "We could try to lose them in there. It is dangerous, but so is everything else right now. The asteroids will block their sensors," Lisa added. "If we can get deep enough into the field, we might be able to hide long enough to figure out our next move." Jake made his decision. "Do it. Take us into the field." "Are you crazy?" Amy asked. "Those rocks will tear us apart." "Maybe," Jake said. "But the alternative is definitely getting blown up by those warships." Ben turned the ship toward the asteroid field just as the Kraxan opened fire again. The blast meant for them hit a large asteroid instead, breaking it into smaller pieces. "Hold on, everyone," Ben warned as he guided the ship between the floating rocks. The New Horizon weaved through the asteroid field like a fish swimming through coral. Ben's piloting skills were put to the test as he dodged chunks of rock the size of small moons. Behind them, the larger Kraxan ships had trouble following. Their bigger size made them less maneuverable in the tight spaces. "They are falling behind," Amy reported, watching the rear sensors. But the Valari ships were smaller and faster. They continued to pursue, firing shots whenever they had a clear line of sight. "These Valari pilots are good," Ben admitted as he rolled the ship to avoid a blast that came very close to their engine section. Princess Zara watched the chase from her position near the back of the bridge. "Captain Morrison, why are you doing this? Your species has nothing to gain from helping me." Jake glanced back at her while keeping one eye on the tactical display. "That is where you are wrong, Princess. We have everything to gain. Do not understand. If what you say about this Forerunner technology is true, then sharing it with everyone instead of just the big powers could level the playing field. Give smaller species like humans a real voice in galactic affairs." Lisa nodded. From her station, Jake is right. The current system keeps species like us at the bottom. We trade scraps while the major powers make all the important decisions. "But you are risking your lives for people you barely know," Zara said. "That is what humans do," Amy said with a small smile. "We stick up for the underdog." The ship suddenly shook as Ben had to make a sharp turn to avoid a collision. A Valari ship that had been following too closely was not so lucky. It clipped an asteroid and spun out of control, crashing into a larger rock. "One down," Ben said. "Two more still chasing us," Lisa reported. Jake studied the asteroid field map on his screen. There was a dense cluster of rocks ahead that might provide better cover. "Can you get us through that cluster up ahead?" "It will be tight," Ben said. "Really tight." "Do it." As they dove deeper into the asteroid field, Jake realized that this was just the beginning. Even if they escaped their immediate pursuers, word about Princess Zara and the Forerunner technology would spread. Soon they would have enemies coming from every direction. But looking at his crew, Jake felt confident they had made the right choice. Sometimes doing the right thing meant taking risks. That was something humans understood better than most species in the galaxy. The New Horizon limped into the spaceport of Haven Colony, a small settlement on the edge of known space. The ship's hull showed burn marks from the chase, and one of the engines was making strange noises. Jake knew they needed repairs before they could go anywhere else. "This place looks like it has seen better days," Amy said as she looked out at the rundown buildings and rusted docking platforms. "That is the point," Jake replied. "Places like this do not ask too many questions about who you are or where you came from." Princess Zara pulled a hood over her head to hide her distinctive silver hair. Even in the Outer Rim, someone might recognize her face from the news broadcasts that were probably spreading across the galaxy by now. They walked through the dusty streets of Haven Colony. Most of the residents were refugees from various conflicts, species that had been pushed out of their home worlds by the major powers. Jake noticed thin families living in converted shipping containers and Saurian workers doing manual labor for barely enough credits to buy food. "I have never seen poverty like this," Princess Zara said quietly. "In the Empire, we were told that all species were prospering under the current system." "The current system works great if you are one of the big players," Lisa said. "Not so much if you are everyone else." They found a small cantina where Jake hoped to gather information about safe routes to neutral space. The owner was an old Valari named Grum, who had lost his left arm in some long-ago conflict. He served them drinks in mismatched glasses while eyeing Princess Zara suspiciously. "You look familiar," Grum said to her. "Have we met before?" "I do not think so," Zara replied, keeping her voice low. Grum stared at her for another moment, then his eyes went wide. "By the 7 moons," he whispered, "you are Princess Zara." Jake tensed, ready to fight or run, but Grum surprised him by smiling. "Princess, you probably do not remember me, but I was at the Galactic Trade Summit 3 years ago. I spoke about fair treatment for small traders. You were the only royal who seemed to care about people like us." Zara relaxed slightly. "I remember that summit. You asked about the tax rates on independent cargo ships." "That is right," Grum said. You actually listened to my question and gave me a real answer, not just political talk. He looked around the cantina, then leaned closer. Word is spreading that you are in trouble. There are people here who would help you if they could. What kind of people? Jake asked. Before Grum could answer, the cantina door opened. A group of beings entered, representing different species that Jake had never seen working together before. There was a Then scholar, 2 Saurian miners, a Valari pilot, and even a young Kraxan who looked different from the military types they had been running from. These are some of the folks I was talking about, Grum said. They call themselves the Free Alliance. They have been trying to organize the small colonies to stand up for themselves. The Then scholar, an elderly female, named Vera, approached their table. Princess Zara, we have heard about what happened at Nexus Station. We want you to know that not everyone believes the lies your brother is spreading. How do you know they are lies? Because we have been watching, said one of the Saurian miners. We see what the major powers do to colonies that try to resist their control. Your brother promised the Hegemony Council access to new mining rights in exchange for their support. That does not sound like someone fighting against corruption. Jake was impressed by how well informed these refugees were. They might not have fancy ships or weapons, but they knew what was happening in the galaxy. Princess Vera said, We heard rumors about ancient technology. Is it true that the Forerunners left something behind? Zara looked at Jake, who nodded slightly. She had already told his crew, and these people seemed trustworthy. It is true, she said. There is a hidden facility in crystalline space, technology that could change the balance of power in the galaxy. Could it help protect small colonies from the major powers? Asked the young Kraxan. That was my hope, Zara replied. The Forerunners believed in equality among all species. Their technology was designed to prevent any one group from dominating the others. The Free Alliance members exchanged glances. Jake could see hope in their eyes, maybe for the first time in years. What do you need from us? Grum asked. Safe passage to the facility, Jake said, and maybe some backup when we get there. If Princess Zara is right about this technology, there are going to be a lot of people trying to stop us. We do not have warships, Vera admitted, but we have something else. Information. We have contacts throughout the Outer Rim who can help you avoid the patrols that are looking for you. Amy leaned forward. What is it going to cost us? Nothing, said the Valari. Pilot Princess Zara is the first royal who ever stood up for the little guy. Helping her is helping ourselves. Just then, Ben burst through the cantina door. Jake, we have got a problem. I was checking the ship and I picked up communications chatter. There is a human defense force commander named Ryan Blake who is asking questions about us. Jake frowned. The human defense force usually stayed out of alien politics. If they were getting involved, it could mean either help or trouble. What kind of questions? He asked. The kind that suggest he knows exactly what we are doing and where we are going, Ben replied. Princess Zara stood up. Captain Morrison, I think it is time we had a conversation with this Commander Blake. If humans are going to be involved in this, we need to know which side they are on. My people are not known for being subtle, Jake said. If Blake is interested in what we are doing, he probably has good reasons. Vera nodded. The Free Alliance has had some contact with human traders. Your species has a reputation for being fair in your dealings. More fair than most, Jake made his decision. All right. Let us find out what Commander Blake wants. But we do this carefully. If this goes wrong, we could end up in human custody instead of Kraxan custody. Either way, Lisa said, at least we would probably get better food. Despite the tension, everyone at the table smiled at that. Jake realized that, even in the middle of danger, humans and their allies could still find reasons to laugh. Maybe that was another thing that set his species apart in this galaxy. The dead world of Kepler 442c looked like a giant gray marble floating in space. No atmosphere, no life, just rock and dust under the light of a dying star. But according to Princess Zara's royal archives, somewhere on that barren surface lay the greatest treasure in the galaxy. Ben asked as he guided the New Horizon into orbit around the planet. The coordinates match exactly, Zara replied, studying the ancient star charts she had smuggled out of the royal palace. The facility should be buried about 2 kilometers below the surface in the northern hemisphere. Commander Ryan Blake's. The voice crackled over the communication system from his ship, the Defiant, which was flying alongside them. The sensors are picking up some interesting readings down there. Definitely artificial structures, and they are big. Jake was still getting used to working with Blake. The Human Defense Force commander had surprised everyone by offering to help instead of arresting them. Blake explained that humanity needed allies in the galaxy, and supporting Princess Zara was a chance to make some powerful friends among the smaller species. "Contact," Amy called out from the sensor station. It's multiple ships dropping out of hyperspace. "Looks like we have got company." Jake looked at the tactical display and felt his heart sink. Prince Kell had arrived with half the crystalline Imperial fleet. Dozens of warships surrounded the planet, cutting off any chance of escape. "This is Prince Kell of the Crystalline Empire," came a voice over the communication channel. "Sister, you have caused me enough trouble. Surrender now, and I might. Let your human friends live." Princess Zara took the microphone with steady hands. "Hello, brother. I see you brought an army to fight one unarmed woman. How brave of you." "You know what I want, Zara? Tell me where the Forerunner facility is, and end this, so you can sell." "It to the highest bidder? I do not think so." More ships appeared at the edge of the system. Kraxan battlecruisers, Velari corporate fleets, even some thin research vessels. Everyone wanted a piece of the Forerunner technology, Jake Blake said over the private channel. "My ship is fast, but we are outnumbered about 50 to 1. Got any bright ideas?" Jake studied the sensor readings from the planet's surface. An idea began to form in his mind. Crazy and dangerous, but maybe their only chance. "Princess, how do we activate the Forerunner systems?" he asked. "There should be a central control chamber," she replied. "But we would have to reach it first, and then figure out how to use technology that is thousands of years old." "What if we do not have to figure it out? What if it figures us out?" Zara looked at him with confusion. "I do not understand." "Not the day." "Forerunners were supposed to be incredibly advanced, right? Maybe their systems are smart enough to recognize when they are needed." Before anyone could respond, the space around them lit up with weapons fire. Prince Kell had lost patience and ordered his fleet to attack. The New Horizon and the Defiant dodged between the blasts, racing toward the planet's surface. "Hang on," Ben called out, as he pushed the ship into a steep dive toward the planet. "This is going to be rough." They crashed through the thin atmosphere and skimmed over the rocky surface. Behind them, smaller ships from the various fleets followed, while the larger vessels remained in orbit, blocking any escape. "There," Zara pointed to a series of strange formations on the ground. "Those are not natural rock formations. That has to be the entrance." Ben set the ship down hard near the structures. The moment they touched ground, Jake was moving toward the airlock. "Everyone in environment suits. Do not know what we are going to find down there." They ran across the dusty surface toward what looked like a sealed door built into the side of a hill. Princess Zara placed her hand on a smooth panel next to the entrance. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the door slid open with a soft hiss. "How did you know to do that?" Amy asked. "Royal bloodline," Zara explained. "The Forerunners gave certain families the genetic keys to their facilities." They entered a long corridor that stretched into darkness. Emergency lights flickered on as they walked, as if the facility was waking up after a long sleep. The walls were covered with symbols that seemed to shift and change as they looked at them. "This place gives me the creeps," Lisa muttered. They reached a large chamber filled with strange machines and control panels. In the center stood what looked like a communication console, but it was unlike anything they had ever seen. Holographic displays showed star maps and data streams in languages none of them could read. "The central control system," Princess Zara said with awe in her voice. "This is it." Explosions echoed from above as the various fleets began landing troops on the surface. They did not have much time. Princess Jake said, "You need to activate the communication network. They show the galaxy what your brother and the major powers have been hiding." Zara approached the console hesitantly. The moment her hands touched the controls, the entire chamber came alive. Lights blazed, machines hummed with power, and holographic displays filled the air around them. "It is working," she said in amazement. The system is connecting to every communication network in the galaxy. What should I broadcast? She asked. The truth, Jake replied. All of it. Princess Zara began to speak, and her words were transmitted instantly to every inhabited world in the galaxy. She told them about her brother's coup, about the corruption in the Hegemony Council, about the deals made in secret to keep the small species powerless. But more importantly, she revealed the location of other Forerunner facilities scattered throughout the galaxy, technology that belonged to everyone, not just the powerful few. The reaction was immediate. On thousands of worlds, people began to demand answers from their leaders. The small species that had been oppressed for so long finally had hope for a better future. Above them, sound of fighting grew closer. The various factions were battling each other as much as they were trying to reach the facility. Jake realized that the real power of the Forerunner technology was not in its weapons or shields, but in its ability to connect people across vast distances. We did it, Princess Zara said, her voice filled with wonder. The whole galaxy knows the truth now. We just have to survive long enough to see what happens next. Jake replied as armed figures appeared at the entrance to the chamber. Prince Kel stood at the entrance to the control chamber with a squad of Imperial guards behind him. His face was twisted with anger as he stared at his sister and her human allies. The sound of fighting echoed from the tunnels behind him as different factions battled each other to reach the Forerunner facility. You have ruined everything, Zara, he said, raising his weapon. Do you have any idea what you have done? I have given the galaxy a chance at freedom, Princess Zara replied calmly. Something you never understood. Freedom? Prince Kel laughed. Bitterly, you have started a war. Every small species in the galaxy is rising up against their betters. There will be chaos. Jake stepped forward, placing himself between the prince and his sister. Maybe there needs to be chaos. Sometimes you have to tear down a broken system before you can build something better. Wise words from a species that has been in space for barely 50 years, Prince Kel sneered. What do humans know about running a galaxy? We know that everyone deserves a fair chance, Jake replied. And we know that power should serve the people, not the other way around. The Forerunner communication system continued to broadcast across the galaxy. Reports were coming in from thousands of worlds. The thin colonies had declared independence from Kraxan rule. Valari trade guilds were demanding democratic representation. Even some worlds within the Crystalline Empire itself were calling for Princess Zara to return as their leader. The people have spoken, Brother Zara said. They want change. Prince Kel raised his weapon, but before he could fire, explosions rocked the facility. Commander Blake and a team of Free Alliance fighters burst into the chamber from a side tunnel, catching the Imperial guards by surprise. Sorry we are late, Blake called out as his team took cover behind the Forerunner machinery. Traffic was terrible. The battle in the control chamber was brief, but intense. The Imperial guards were well trained, but they were outnumbered and fighting in an unfamiliar environment. When the shooting stopped, Prince Kel was wounded, and his guards were either dead or surrendering. It is over, Kel, Princess Zara said, sadly as she knelt beside her injured brother. The old system is finished. You think this changes anything? He gasped. The major powers will never accept your new order. They will crush the small species like insects. Maybe, Jake said. But now the small species have the tools to fight back. Through the Forerunner communication network, they could see what was happening across the galaxy. The other hidden facilities had been found and activated by local populations. Ancient defensive systems were coming online on worlds that had been defenseless for centuries. The technology was spreading faster than anyone could stop it. More importantly, the instant communication network meant that isolated colonies could coordinate their actions for the first time. What had been scattered groups of oppressed people was becoming a unified movement. Princess Zara, came a voice over the communication system. It was Vera, the Then scholar from Haven Colony. The Free Alliance is calling an emergency meeting. Representatives from over 200 worlds want to form a new government, a democratic one. Zara looked at Jake with wonder in her eyes. 200 worlds. I never imagined the response would be so strong. People were ready for change, Jake said. They just needed someone to show them it was possible. Over the following days, as the various fleets withdrew from the dead world, the shape of the new galaxy began to emerge. The major powers tried to maintain control, but their authority was crumbling. Species that had been silent for centuries were finally finding their voices. The Galactic Democratic Council was formed with representatives from every species, regardless of their size or military strength. Princess Zara was elected as the first chancellor, but she insisted on term limits and regular elections. The power would belong to the people, not to any individual ruler. Jake found himself appointed as the first human ambassador to the new government. It was a position that had been created specifically to honor the species that had dared to help when no one else would. I never expected to become a diplomat, he told Commander Blake as they watched the first session of the Democratic Council. From the observation deck, "You were always a diplomat," Blake replied. "You just used a cargo ship instead of an embassy." The new government faced many challenges. Some of the major powers refused to recognize its authority and tried to maintain their old territories through force. But the Forerunner defensive systems made it much harder for them to bully smaller worlds, and the communication network allowed for rapid coordination of resistance efforts. Not every world joined the Democratic Council immediately. Change came, slowly in some sectors, and there were setbacks along the way. But for the first time in galactic history, there was real hope for equality among all species, Princess Zara. Now, Chancellor Zara often met with Jake to discuss the challenges ahead. They had become good friends during their adventure, bound together by the experience of doing the right thing when it seemed impossible. "Do you ever regret helping me that day at Nexus Station?" she asked during one of their meetings. Jake looked out at the diverse collection of beings working together in the council chambers below. Humans, Sten, Valari, Saurians, and dozens of other species were debating policy and making decisions that would affect the entire galaxy. "Never," he said. "Sometimes the smallest actions have the biggest consequences." All it took was one person willing to step forward when everyone else stepped back. One human, Zara corrected with a smile. "Person," Jake repeated. "Species does not matter. What matters is the choice to help when help is needed." Years later, when historians wrote about the fall of the old galactic order and the rise of the Democratic Council, they would mark the beginning of the revolution as the moment when a simple cargo ship captain offered passage to an exiled princess. They called it the day that humanity proved that sometimes the most powerful force in the universe is just someone willing to do the right thing. The galaxy was far from perfect, but it was better than it had been, and that was enough to build on.